Hey, what's up? It's Kit time for another video. Today we talk about shore jigging reels. Before anything else, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Barracuda Fishing Equipment. Thank you so much for sponsoring the series. Now, Barracuda, if you didn't know, is the largest fishing tackle shop in the Middle East, and they have two branches, one in Abu Dhabi and one in Dubai, and soon they will launch their website. So I'm pretty excited for that, because once that website gets launched, people would be able to see exactly what they have on offer, and perhaps you could buy, whether you're in Africa or wherever in the world. Barracuda has about 90% or more of what I use, because guess what? That's kind of like my default shop. Okay, so they have the most complete lineup of almost everything JDM. So very, very convenient. And their main branch is actually located along Sheikh Zayed Road, which is the main artery or the main area of Dubai. So wherever you see those skyscrapers and everything, the shop is actually there. So it's very easy to get to. So if you are visiting the city, just tell them, the address of Barracuda. You could search for them on your Google Maps. Very easy to find. And if you're into cars, they're right beside the Mansouri shop. Okay, so literally just the same line. Alrighty, so more on that later on, because what's probably gonna happen is I'm gonna take you guys on a tour, so in Barracuda, just to show you exactly what they have. That's A, and B, I think what I'm going to do is do a surprise visit to the owner's office, because behind this office is one of the warehouses for Barracuda, and my God, it's a sight to see. It's crazy. Anyway, so reels. Okay, this is part of the Shore Jigging 101 series, designed specifically for those guys that are starting out, and for those guys that are kind of just started. Okay, this would validate your choices, and if there are things that you need to improve, then you can improve them. Okay, and that is the target. Now, for the experts out there, this is not the video for you. This is bare bones basic. I keep on saying that because it is. Alrighty. Now, one of the things that you need to decide on is whether you're going for Daiwa or Shimano. Now, I'm going to talk about these two brands only because I know there's a lot out there. Okay, but these are standards. Okay, so anywhere in the world, more than likely you'd be able to find Shimano or Daiwa, and they have pretty good reels. Not pretty good, they're actually really good. Okay, so they have two different technology sets that are aimed to accomplish pretty much the same thing. What I'm saying is that for Shimano, let's look at the anti-water intrusion technology that they use. So Daiwa has MagSeal, which utilizes freaking awesome technology, if you ask me. They use ferric oil. So basically, oil that reacts to a magnet, and they use that to seal bearings. They use that to seal like certain areas of the reel to prevent water intrusion. And they're put in place so that they don't go anywhere else. It's magnet. It's crazy. Okay, so very, very cool technology from Daiwa. Daiwa has been around for a long time. In fact, they are one of the OGs of fishing reel or fishing tackle manufacturing. Shimano is a company that specializes on small moving parts. And then in the 70s, they found, this good idea to probably get into the fishing reel market. And by the 80s, they were a force to reckon with. Okay, so these two are pushing each other, and basically very good rivalry going on, because one is actually encouraging the other to push the boundaries of technology. Again, two different approaches to accomplish the same thing. Both brands are really, really good. On top of the heap, you will have, for spinning reels, you will have the Stellas, and you will often hear that from Shimano, and then Saltigas from Daiwa. Okay, I know very little of Daiwa, and I know a little bit about Shimano. So we talk about Shimano because that's what I use. Okay, I'm pretty sure that someone will be kind enough to actually put the equivalents of the reels that I'm about to show you, and I'll only have two to show. Of these reels that I use for the 7 to 35 gram range. Now, remember that I recommended in the previous video, I recommended the 7 to 35 range for you to start in, because this is the range where you will have a lot of relevancy anywhere on Earth. Okay, so you go to, let's say, the States, you'll find bait fish that are this size. Okay, so that size, 10 grams. Okay, and this is one of the most important weights. It's 10, 15, and 20 for me. Okay, now here's another 10 gram. As you can see, anywhere on Earth, you'd be able to find that. And 30 grams. Okay, you can see again that bait fish, that's the range. Okay, that's kind of like the range. You have that small, okay, that 10, another 10 gram, you can see, and then 20 that's in the middle, something like that. Okay, so you will find that for that particular size range, 7 to 35, you will find a lot of bait fish anywhere on Earth that are of that size. And you know, a lot of people might find this crazy, but you could do it in freshwater as well. As I explained in the previous video, this is nothing but casting spoons. So even in freshwater, you could do it. Okay, so you know, there's areas probably where you fish in where there are predatory fish that eat smaller fish. Okay, open water, it could be for trout, it could be for some sort of salmonoid. Okay, so trout is one of them, char would be one of them, wherein you would find like a big lake where a river goes into. You could do that. You could certainly do this for rivers as well. You know, you cast upstream and then let the jig, it's like nymphing essentially. Okay, so in fly fishing, there's a technique called nymphing. So you could use a shore jigging rod exactly for the same purpose, and I'm pretty sure you'll catch this some fish as well. You know, you have a 10 or 7 gram wide jig such as this that you can actually take, depending on the current, you can cast upstream and then just, you know, kind of let the current take it, and then a fish will bite that, because guess what? It's something that you do with spoons. Okay, so even in freshwater, there are some areas where you could apply this. So it is a technique that's actually kind of versatile. Okay, now the reels are very important because it is one of the factors that dictate, which I think is the biggest thing for this whole thing. Okay, the biggest factor when it comes to shore jigging, and you know, there are people that, okay, there's a preference factor when it comes to equipment, for any type of equipment. Actually, for any type of fishing, there is a big personal preference factor. Now, a lot of people would always justify their purchase. Okay, meaning people will always say that they bought the right thing, even if it's wrong. You know, and there's very little people that would actually admit that their gear is, you know, kind of not ideal. Hopefully, since you're starting, we avoid that. Okay, personal preference is a huge scapegoat when it comes to wrong decisions in fishing. Now, a light rod is advantageous. Okay, so a lot of people would choose rods for different things. A lot of people say that, oh, this rod is comfortable. How would you know it's comfortable when you first buy it, when you actually have not tried at least a dozen rods? it's kind of impossible unless you're the type of person that actually buys and then, buys a three at a time, test them out in real world scenarios, find the one that you really like, and then after that, or feels good, okay, feels good, not like, feels good in your hands, something that feels natural, and then after that, sell off the others, unless you have that. Now, for other people, it's access to a what do you call this, a shop, okay. You see why Barracuda is a sponsor? All right. So Barracuda and I actually have we're we go back really, really long. Okay. And it is the single most reason why I can actually say that this balances well with my system, because guess what? I can walk into the shop, take whatever I need, test them out, or there are samples that I have access to. So rods, like take for example, brands such as Major Craft actually send Barracuda a lot of samples. And then I could just take my reel, bang, test it out. And then I go like, oh, this one's great. It feels good to me. And then that's what I buy. Okay. Now I'm here to actually share what I've learned. Okay. So remember that example, unless you're that person that actually gets like these, I'm kind of in a fortunate position like that. So it's not only Barracuda, there are some brands that actually send me stuff and then for me to test out, and hopefully that little bit of experience helps you guys out. Now for reels, the best thing is for you to actually choose a reel according to, first and foremost, because you're starting out, it would be budget. Okay. And this is why I actually said that when it comes to shore jigging or any type of fishing for that matter, spend on the reel. So for me, it's a 60-40 split. 60% of what I spend would be on the reel. Because, as I've mentioned, this is probably number 5 of the rods that I've used with this reel. This reel is old. This is an old Vanquish. If I'm not mistaken, this is the second or third version, probably the second. Okay. How reel technologies work is that it's not like rods. Rods are like cell phones. So every year there's a new model, or almost. Okay. Reels, every 5 years there's a change, and some of those changes could be cosmetic. So in reality, for me, one reel would probably last me 10 years before I actually change it. I have a very old twin power that I have just upgraded, and that's a twin power from 2008. I think for some people that have actually, there's one video that I showed that one reel, and Kelvin actually said like, wow, that reel's older than your daughter. And guess what? Up until 2 years ago, I was still using it. So I've only upgraded it like 2 years ago. So, as far as reel technologies are concerned, if you really understand, you will find that you'll stay with the reels longer than you would with the rods, given that you actually buy the top, because the relevancy for reels are actually longer than the rods. Okay. Now, there's several factors that you need to look at when it comes to reels. Okay, so for you guys that are using Daiwa, please help us out and then put in the description the equivalents for these reels. Okay, on top of the heap for this line of reels, for the light reels, is well, wait, let me explain this first. So there's 2 types of lines that you need to look at when you're choosing reels. There is the X Protect or Core Protect reels, and Stradic belongs to that. On top of the list, I would say on top of the shit pile for this one would be Stella. Okay, now how do you know? You look at the rotor. So in this rotor, you will find X Protect or Core Protect, and on top of the heat of that would be Stellas. Now, these reels are actually quite robust. These reels are also kind of heavy. Now, On the other end, on the other line, it's called the MGL or Magnum Light. So these reels are lighter. It's not that they're what do you call this? It's not that they're not robust. They are, but they're lighter. So the reel has magnesium, and magnesium is a lighter metal. The others would have aluminum. Okay, another one in the MGL series is the Twin Power XD. So you'll find that you'll have either MGL or Magnum Light. Okay, so these two reels, the difference is this is Magnum Light, this is Magnum Light, this is on top of the shit pile. So for this, it's actually really light. You put it inside the carton, you think that there's nothing inside. Okay, it's that light. Now, when it's casting, when it comes to casting, especially on the lighter bit, 7 to 35. Okay, so this particular reel I use on 15 and well, let's say 10 and lower, whereas 15 and 20 I would use something like this. Or I could just stick with one reel, put it on the 7 to 35 rod, and be done with it. So it really depends. Okay, for me, I have come to a point where I'm very specific about certain things. Like take for example this reel, or sorry, this rod I only use for 20 grams. Okay, so and you don't need to follow that. But what I'm trying to say is that I use a very light reel for the purpose, because a light reel that balances out with a light rod, okay, makes you feel the jig more and makes you last the fishing session more. And it's that simple. It's really that simple. All it is just for me to be very what do you call this, have a very sensitive system, and of course comfort. You know, your fishing comfort is one of those. I have to say that again, when I say casting is sure, jigging is a casting discipline, it's actually a very good thing. Okay, it means that there's a lot of money from the companies that they funnel in for research, because again, casting, apex when it comes to Japanese style fishing. Okay, now the there's a Vamford. Okay, Vamfords, a lot of people would actually ask this. Okay, Vamfords, they're light reels. The body is made out of composite. The problem with the Vamford is this right here. Okay, now for composite reels, what happens is that when you actually hook something big, you will feel the flex of the reel. You will feel it go like this, and that's something that's natural for composite bodied reels in any brand. So I would actually encourage you to look at the MGL series, but look at the reels with the metal bodies, and that's very important. Now, for the 7 to 35 range, the 3000 size is very ideal. Okay, now if you go up one level, let's say you want to fish 40 to 80 grams, 4000 size reels, 5000 is the right size. Obviously, you will have to pair it with the rod. Now, how do you pair it with the rod? So you look at the rod, okay, and then you'll find that it would have a range. So for this one, it's 0.6 to 1.5. And you look at the label of your reel, you'll find that it has PE whatever to whatever. Okay. You look at the box, you look at the spool, but more than likely, it will actually coincide. Okay. So it will always have the range. So let's say, it doesn't say it on this one, but let's say you'll have 300 meters of PE1 capacity for this particular reel. And then it coincides with PE 0.6 to 1.5. That's in the middle. Okay, always find the size that's in the middle, and that's the common so 0.6, 0.8, 1, 1.5. So the balance that you're looking for is 0.8, 1, and 1.2 for the reel, the capacity. So you look, if that reel carries the same, you'd be able to match it because there's an intersect between their capacities. Now, there's something that you need to understand as well. When you're choosing the line that you need to put on, and we'll talk about that because guess what? It's connected anyway. So I guess this will be for the reel and a little bit of the line, but we'll talk more about the line and leader in the next video. But you balance it out according to the line that you're using. So you have the 0.6 to 1.5 PE on this, and we're using PE for shore jigging. For the reel, it will have the capacity that intersects with those. Now, if you're choosing, let's say, PE1, okay, and that's the biggest that I would say I would recommend for this sort of thing. So the range that you're looking at is either 0.8, sorry, 0.6, 0.8, and 1. Okay, so if you choose if you use balancing the rod and the reel is quite simple. What you need to do is find the intersect of the reel and the rod when it comes to the line capacities. So you have right here, okay, it says 0.6 to 1.5. You can see it clearly, right? Right there, 0.6 to 1.5 PE. And then this reel has the capacity of PE 0.6 to 1.5 as well. You'll see, you look at the box, you look at the label, it says that. Now, what happens is you have three choices. You have a balance, okay, because it's part of the balance. You'll have a power balance, which is the largest capacity that the reel supports. So let's say PE1. Now, PE1 would give you like 250. 0.8 will probably give you 300. And then 0.6 will give you 350 meters. Okay? And these three matter so much according to how you fish. Since you're starting out, I would suggest that you either get the middle, which is 0.8, or you get the top, which is PE1. PE1 will give you the most power because when you set your drags, it would be the one that would support a higher drag. PE 0.8 is what I would call an optimized balance, which is the line, the rod, and the reel working together to give you the most that it could give, meaning it'll give you power and distance balanced and optimized for the use for the rod, reel, and line. Now, distance balance is kind of advanced. What it is that you load it with thin line purely for distance. It requires a lot of skill when it comes to drag control because you have to be a bit more exact, not a bit more, but you have to be exact, okay? And you have to know what to do when you're fighting fish. Now, if you're starting out, I would suggest that you stick somewhere in the middle or the top. Because guess what? You're still learning, you don't know what you're doing, and more than likely you'll get mistakes. So ideally, what you would have is a light reel to balance with an okay rod. Remember, in the first video, I have suggested that when you're first starting out, what you do is get a mid-end rod and a very good reel, because the tendency for you to break that rod is actually quite high. Now, when you're like, you're a few years in, you know what you're doing, time for you to maybe upgrade to a reel or upgrade a rod. So for me, I use a Vanquish. The Vanquish together with this rod, which is cross stage, sorry, a Crossride 5G is very light. Now, one of the Yamaga's, which is like what I use when people are not looking or when I'm not filming, actually gives me a really good feel. Now, this rod, okay, this is why I was telling people this rod is actually very, very close to how a Yamaga feels like. Not the same, okay, not the same, but pretty freaking close. Okay, now let me actually. Okay, so this is the combo that I use, and I'm gonna show you guys. This is the Explorer. Okay, and it's an older rod, really. I think and not think, but I know this is discontinued. But I'm just showing you guys so that you can see exactly what I'm using. Sorry, not this reel. Whoopsie. I just want to show you guys what I'm using so that you would know. Okay, so this combo is like, holy shit, it's so good. Okay, so dang, that's it. So for for shore jigging, 7 to I would say 15 to 15 grams. This is like really, really good. Now this rod is rated for 7 to 28, but 7 to 15 is basically what I'm using it for. Most of the time, it's just 7 to about 10. Okay, there are some 12-gram jigs as well, so more than likely I'd be using it for with this, and the feel that it gives me actually really, really good. Now, you don't have to buy super expensive rods like this because the feel of a 5G is actually quite close. Okay, not super close, but it'll do. Okay, and some people would actually probably prefer this, but for a mid-end purchase, this is very, very good. And paired with the reel, okay, whatever your choice would be, a 5G would balance well with a 3000 MGL. Stay away from composite bodies like what's that, the Vamp. And see, here's the thing, before it used to be called Stradic CI4, and I have one of those. I have a Stradic CI4 1000, and actually a very good reel. It's just that I think for shore jigging, it's going to flex. Okay, so the two reels that I recommend would be the Twin Power XD. Okay, and if you have a little bit of money, Vanquish. There's also the Xsense, but the Xsense is a little bit, it's kind of weak, but it's specifically designed for sea bass. Okay, the Xsense. So this, and then the Xsense is here, and then after that, the Twin Power XD would be like number 3. But this is the top. If you can, go ahead and get this. If not, the Xsense. If not, the Twin Power XD. Okay, so again, very, very important because of the balance. All right, now, obviously, on top of this whole thing would be like the big stuff, and then you're going to be dealing with like super big reels. Something like this. It could either be a Stella, a Twin Power, or their Daiwa equivalents. Unfortunately, there are no light versions for this sort of thing. And remember, you're trying to catch pelagics on land. Okay, so you would want something robust in your hands. The most important thing that you need to remember is that for reels, you don't want to use a PG or a power gear or a low speed reel. What you want is an XG or at least an HG. MG and PG, mid gear or power gear, don't It's just too slow. Remember, you're casting out really far for days and most of the time. And you're casting out far enables you to cover more ground. And that is one of the, if not one of the biggest, if not the biggest requirement in shore jigging as far as JDM gear is concerned. Now, you go to the website of each rod, you look, okay? And there's a huge emphasis on distance. Okay, now let me, because recently there's been an incident in the comment section and stuff, and then, I just banned the guy. It's very dangerous when you kind of know very little, and you try to be smart. Okay, so let me address it in this, and this is the last time I'm going to be talking about this thing. Okay, first and foremost, JDM, Japanese domestic market. Okay, so when it comes to JDM, what happens is that they will actually design rods, reels, lines for the Japanese domestic market. Never has there ever been a company in Japan that makes rods for Japan to go to the Mediterranean and say, hey, I'm going to build a 10-foot rod that's comfortable to use for the Mediterranean. No. What happens is that they have a 10-foot rod that's designed for their specifications, which is, guess what? Distance casting. And then someone sees the rod elsewhere outside of Japan and say like, hey, I can use this. I'll adopt this to my situation. But that's all you could do. There is no such thing as a JDM product designed for anywhere else. And one of their requirements as far as shore jigging is concerned is distance. Okay. Now, if it is comfortable to use, all in good. I never said that they shouldn't. Okay. But as it is a casting discipline, and the casting discipline in the Japanese fishing doctrine is at the top of everything. Jigging is lower. Okay. So as the hierarchy of things, guess what? You'll find really good top-end equipment that's designed for that specific type of fishing. A lot of money is going into the R&D for casting more than there is in jigging. Okay? A lot more people are spending their trips for GT fishing outside of Japan. They go to Oman. They go to, even domestically, they go to Indonesia. Domestically in Japan, there's the Tokara Islands. There's Okinawa, where it's warmer. The GTs are there. And that's the apex for Japanese fishing. On top of everything is actually GT fishing. And guess what? It's not jigging, it's casting. Okay? So as far as casting disciplines, or the casting discipline or the casting doctrine when it comes to fishing in Japan is concerned, it's the apex, and shore jigging happens to be there. It means that shore jigging gets a lot of attention because guess what? You're able to catch yellowtail, which is like the third, I think. So there's GT, and then there's tuna, and then yellowtail. Okay, so and if you don't know that, you don't know much. Okay, so that's the end of that. Alrighty, so now there are also overhead reels, and for the big stuff, Studio Ocean Mark has just released 2, and this is the upgraded version from the previous models that they have. L75 for instead of the L50 casting version, and then there's also the L105, which is the biggest in the range, and that replaced the L80. Again, I'm just mentioning that just so you know it exists. But as far as the guys that are just starting out, concentrate on 3,000 sized reels, okay? And that's that. So to recap, just to recap, Dima, this is your fault. Okay, so just to recap, when it comes to spending, okay, my advice is to spend on the reel more because they stay longer as far as relevancy is concerned. Spending on the reel means that you can, grow your, as you grow, your reel remains the same, and then you just look for a rod that balances out with newer technology. Okay, now the reel that you need is either a high gear or an extra high gear, and the reel line that I'm recommending would be the MGL reels from Shimano, of which you either get the top end, or of which at the top is the Vanquish, and then there's the Xsense. I don't have the Xsense, and then there's also the Twin Power XD, or Twin Power Extra Durable. So if you're looking for a reel that takes a beating, go for the TPXD. They're a bit heavier, but they're still light compared to the other reels on the X Protect or Core Protect line, which is like the line where the Stella is the top end of. So also stay away from composite bodied reels such as the Vamp, because they have flex in the body. Now, when you're looking at the reel, also make sure to balance it out with the rod. So if the rod says that it has a capacity for 0.6 to 1.5, you look at the middle range, which is 0.8, PE1, and 1.2 in that particular rod. You look at the reel, you see exactly what the capacity is. If it says for this reel, it would have 0.8, 300. That means that this reel is actually built for 0.8. Now, for 0.1, it will have a capacity of 250 PE1. So you have a choice of either putting 300 meters of 0.8 or 250 meters of PE1. Either of those would work, but I would recommend PE8 because it will give you the right amount of power and distance when casting. Once you grow, okay, once Junior grows some fangs, what Junior can do is spool this up with a thinner line like 0.6, and you will get ultimate distance, or the potential distance that your rod and reel can pump out would be open to you. But that's when Junior has grown fangs, meaning Junior has learned. Okay, so probably after a year or two, you'd be able to explore that. But what I recommend is that Junior sticks with the middle, which is 0.8 or 1, because that will give you the most chance of actually catching bigger fish should you run into those suckers, because you still have to learn how to set your drags properly, or find the drag setting that's right for you. As you develop your style, you'd be able to actually progress. You have to start with missionary before you actually do all sorts of exhibition positions. So that's pretty much the same thing, right? I think we're older, right? I always click not for children, but yeah, you know what I mean, guys. Alrighty, or you start with doggy first because it's the most natural, and then after that whichever part of the world you're from, it's different from place to place. So you first learn how to walk, training wheels protocol, remember? So start out with thicker line before you actually go with the thinner line. Now, here's a bonus too. With thicker line, especially with this short jigging thing, with thicker line, it's actually better for you guys, especially if you want to dip your fingers into using slow jigs from land, because the thicker line gives your jigs an extra hang time because of the drag it creates. So that's, again, something for you to think about, and we'll talk about that more probably down the line when I make like a video, when like perhaps something that I would consider a bit more advanced. Alrighty, just for your reference, this is filled with 0.3 PE 0.3. So I purposely underline my reels, and this has a lot of capacity, thinner line, more cap, and this one is 0.8. Alrighty, so again, something that that might be something for you guys in the future, but for now, stick with the basics, because guess what? This is Shore Jigging 101, and that is all for this video. Again, I would like to thank Barracuda for sponsoring this series. And yeah, get in touch with me if you want to get in touch with them, or you could contact them in IG, Barracuda Fishing Equipment, and also in Facebook. They're actually quite responsive. So, you know, their WhatsApp is also in both of those pages. Alrighty, they're more active on Instagram than they are on Facebook. I have to say that because this region actually is like Instagram heavy. Alrighty, so there are two things you could do to support the channel. You could either become a member, and the membership button is down there. It's like it's there, okay? And then the hat. So the hats are especially good because, well, guess what? It brings the brand offline. I have to say though that I might be switching suppliers. So by the time you see this, I might have already, because the supplier before, they're kind of slow and I don't like that, you know. So that's that. Alrighty. If you have learned something from this video, give it a thumbs up, share if you care, you know, share this with your friends that also want to get into this whole thing, because it can get confusing. And I hope I was quite clear in the videos. But if I'm not, and if you want to clear something up, drop them in the comment section, and we'll start a discussion. Alrighty, that is it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Class dismissed.